Alright, we're going to add and subtract polynomials on this worksheet. When you see an addition sign for number 1, I really don't take anything out of parentheses. I just kind of make sure I look at the exponent that is the greatest, and in this case the exponent that is the greatest in both of these is this to the 4th power. Alright, so I'm going to just box out this right here, which is negative 5p to the 4th, and I'm going to box out this negative 2p to the 4th. So I'm just going to use my calculator just to make sure this is negative 5, and it's negative 5p to the 4th, and that is minus 2. Right, negative 5 plus negative 2. And by the way, you could put it in that way, which would be negative 7, or you could put it basically negative 5 plus a negative 2. It's the same thing. It's negative 7. Alright, so it is negative 7p to the 4th. And then once you're finished with those, you're finished to the 4ths. They're gone. The next exponent down from that is to the 3rd. Alright, so you have positive 4p to the 3rd, and you have a negative 2p to the 3rd. And obviously 4 minus 2, and that's how you read it, 4, positive 4 minus 2, that is a plus, oops, let me just write that in the same, plus 2p to the 3rd. And that's gone. Now the next exponent down is 2p to the 2nd and 8p to the 2nd, and they're both positives. So it's 2 plus 8. I did it again. And that is 10p to the 2nd. And you could cross those out, and there's nothing left. So this is when you do it that way, this is standard form. Standard form says that the exponent that's the largest basically has to be put first. Alright, so this is negative 7p to the 4th plus 2p to the 3rd plus 10p squared. And that is your final answer. Right. Okay, so the second one here is a little bit more difficult. And you have to really take everything out of the parentheses. And when I take them out of parentheses, because of this subtraction sign, and I'll get to that, when I take it out of parentheses, I am going to put them in standard form right away. Alright, so I'm just taking this right here, and I'm going to put that in standard form. Alright, so I'm going to put that 5x to the 3rd first, because that term in that trinomial is the largest exponent, has that largest exponent. Then I'm going to have plus 2x squared. And then I'm going to put the plus 5. And the reason why I did take this out of parentheses is because of this minus sign. Like this, whenever there's a subtraction sign and parentheses, it's kind of like distributing a negative 1. I don't have to put this negative 1 here, but it changes what happens is that when you distribute, it changes all of the signs inside the parentheses. It's negative times a positive 8, and that is a negative 8x to the 3rd. And when you distribute that negative, the parentheses go away, and the negative kind of goes away because you're doing negative times a positive and you're putting that answer right here. It's a negative 8x to the third. Negative times a negative 6, oops, sorry. Negative times a negative is positive. And like I said, it's not going to change. It's not basically changing the number. It is changing the number, but it's really just changing the sign. All right, so it is a positive 6. And then a negative 1 or negative times another negative would be a positive 4x squared. Okay. All right, so now you have the 5x to the third power and the negative 8x to the third power. Remember, you could use your calculator. Do not try to do this. You can, if you're confident, you could, but it's 5 minus 8, and that is a negative 3. Negative 3x to the third. All right, you could cross those out if you want. If not, then it's fine. Then the next exponent in the standard form down from the third power is to the second power. And I underlined both, and this is a plus 2x squared plus 4x squared, and that is plus 6x squared. And you could cross those out if you wanted to. And the only thing you have left is that positive 5 and a positive 6. And that's plus 11. Now there's a lot of different ways to do this. You can, I mean, you could line them up vertically according to the like terms, or you could just do the way I just did. I just took everything out of parentheses. You could really, when you take out of parentheses here in the first parenthesis, you could just bring it. You could just bring them all down. It's up to you. But I like to kind of just rearrange it in standard form, and then make sure that that I am distributing that negative, making sure that this becomes a negative 8 from a positive 8. Negative times a negative, this negative 6 now will become a positive 6. This negative 1 times a negative 4x squared, that would become a positive 4x squared. Just remember, if you're subtracting, you're really just changing every sign inside those parentheses when you're distributing. Try number 3, and we'll come back with the answer. All right, press pause now. So for number 3, listen, I did number 2. I kind of arranged, I arranged it in standard form. And if I did the same thing here, this negative 8n to the fourth would be first. All right, would be listed first. But I'm just telling you that it's really what you're comfortable doing. There's a lot of different ways to do it. So I took another method here, and I just brought everything down just the way they were for that first step. All right, for the first set of parentheses. Then remember, this is a negative 1, so you have to distribute that negative. So negative times a positive 5n would be a negative 5n. Negative times a positive 2n squared would be a negative 2n squared. And that's why it's changing from positive 2n to negative 2n. So you have a negative times another negative 6, and negative times a negative is positive 6. So then once I have everything like this, now I have to convert it. Remember, um, my final answer would be has to be in standard form. So when I do go ahead and combine like terms, I am just going to go ahead and look for the largest exponent first. And the largest exponent here is to the fourth power. And I have nothing else to the fourth power. So I'm writing down negative 8n to the fourth. And once I finish that, I could kind of cancel that out. Then I'm looking for the third power to the third. I don't have to the third, but I do have to the second. All right, and that means, and I don't have any other second power term to the second power. All right, so that's finished. Now I'm looking for all the first powers, and I have them right here. Just remember, use your calculator if you need it. So if you need it, it's a negative 5n. Well, you don't put the n in. And then this is a plus 4n. And that's negative 1n. And you don't have to put the negative 1, you just put negative n. And that's out, and that's out. And the next one is negative 3 plus 6. So you go to your calculator again, negative 3 plus 6. And you get a 3. And that is standard form. And that's it. Negative 8n to the fourth minus 2n squared minus n plus 3. Use your calculator, make sure. Number 4 is addition. So what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and do it on your own. Take all of the terms out of the parentheses and then match up the like terms and do whatever the sign says in the front of the number to those two terms, matching up the like terms. Go ahead and press pause now. Okay, so I have 4m to the fourth plus 4m minus 3. And let's go over that really quickly. I have a positive m to the fourth power, and I have a positive 3m to the fourth power. Remember, this is a 1. So that is 1 plus 3, that's 4m to the fourth power. Then I could cross those out. And then I have 8m, positive 8m, and a negative 4m. Or, it doesn't matter which way. Negative 4m and a positive 8m. Negative 4 plus 8 is positive 4. And you can cross those out. And then the only thing you have left is 1 minus 4, and that's negative 3. And hopefully that works out for you. All right. All right. Try the next one, especially because this is remember, a subtraction. So I'll just kind of go through. Remember, you just bring down on your paper, go ahead and just bring down the 3n. Bring down the 8n to the fourth. And then bring down the 8n to the second. Okay, so we're going to just go ahead and distribute that negative. Remember, negative times a positive, that is negative 8 n to the fourth. Negative times the negative would change that negative 4n to the fourth, to the second, to a positive 4n to the second power. And then a negative times the last negative would be positive 7. And we are all ready. Looking for the highest exponent first. So your answer would be in standard form, would be a to the fourth power. All right, and then I forgot to put to the fourth power here. So a positive 8n to the fourth minus 8n to the fourth cancels both of those out. That's 0n to the fourth. And you do not have to put that. So that's out. And then I'm looking for the third, which I don't have the third power, but I do have two terms to the second power. And I have 8 plus 4. And that is 12n to the second power. And I'm going slow enough so you could, you know, you can go ahead and do this. You're probably ahead of me. You're crossing those out. And then you're looking for anything to the first power. And right here is the only term to the first power. And it's 3n. And then you could cross that out. And you could put plus 7. And that is your final answer. Hopefully you did get it. Go ahead, do number 6, and we'll come back with the answer right after this. And press pause now. So I'm right in the middle of this, and I just took everything out of parentheses. Since this is an addition problem of two trinomials that you're adding, you could just go ahead and just take them out of parentheses, and that's what I did. I didn't I didn't kind of put it in standard form. I just put them right. I just took every term and put them right below, not changing anything. So then I underlined v to the fourth and v to the fourth, and that became 6 plus 4, and that is 10v to the fourth. The next thing I'm going to look for is to the third power. I don't have a third power term to the third power, so I have a term to the second power, and it's really only one. It is negative 7v to the second. So hopefully you did get that, and that cancels out. Now I'm looking for something to the first power, and I only have one term to the first power. That is minus 4v. And I can cancel that out as soon as I put that down. And then I have negative 5 plus 2, and using my calculator, negative 5 plus 2 is a negative 3. And that is in standard form your answer. Go ahead, try number 7, press pause now. Okay, so hopefully you do have what I have here. Remember, this is a subtraction problem, so you do have to distribute that negative, and that will change all of the signs of everything inside the second set of parentheses. And this positive 4x squared now becomes a negative 4x squared. This positive 5x becomes a negative 5x, and this positive x to the fourth power becomes a negative x to the fourth power. And now you just have to combine the like terms, and hopefully you're okay with that. I am going to underline both x to the fourth powers, going to the largest exponent first. That is 6x to the fourth power, because it is 7x to the fourth minus 1x to the fourth. Once I get finished with that, I like to cancel them out. You don't have to, but it's up to you. You have x to the third. There are no x to the thirds, but you do have one x to the second power, and that is the only one that you have. So I am just going to write that down. Remember, the sign of the number before the sign before the number is the sign of that whole number. All right, canceling that out. The next is the x to the first power, and I have positive 7x minus 5x, and that is a plus 2x. Use your calculator if you are confused. So I'm canceling those out right there, and the only thing I have left is the plus 4, and that is my final answer. Go ahead, do number 8, and we'll come back with the answer right away. Press pause now. So I have 6k squared plus 5k squared. Remember, this is an addition problem, so you don't have to change any of the signs. Just take them out of parentheses and then just put it in standard form using the largest exponent first. You have 11k squared because it's 6 plus 5. The next thing is to look for k to the first, and you have positive k minus 4k, and that is a negative 3k. Canceling out. And then you have 3 plus 4, and 3 plus 4 is 7. This is your answer, your final answer, and that's an easy problem. Go ahead to number 9. You can press pause now. And again, remember, this is subtraction problem, so negative times a positive becomes a negative 8n. Negative times a positive again here becomes a negative 5n to the third. And then one more time, negative times a negative 4n, it becomes a positive 4n. Once you do have those lined up like that and out of parentheses, you're looking for the highest, the largest exponent, and I'm going to underline them. I have n to the third minus 5n to the third becomes negative 4n to the third, and please use your calculator. That is wrong. Use your calculator for all of that and make sure that you're okay with 1 n to the third minus 5n to the third. I am going to cross those out and then look for n to the second, and I do have 2 n to the second, 2 terms with n to the second. So I have negative 6 minus 8, and I am going to bring up the calculator for this. Negative 6 minus 8, and that is negative 14. Just to make sure. You don't want to get something wrong because you added or subtracted wrong. So this cancels out. Then I am looking for to the first power, and I do have the plus 4n and the 8n. That is 12n, and this is your final answer. And that's it. All right, and go ahead and do number 10. This is a nice little easy, this is a easier problem because it's an addition problem. Go ahead, take everything out of parentheses and then line up the like terms, combine them, and let's see if your answer matches mine. Press pause now. So I took everything out of parentheses, not changing any of the signs at all, because again, this is an addition problem. So I am going to look for the highest, the largest exponent, and that largest exponent is x to the 4th power, and I don't have any other x to the 4th power, so I am just going to put that down and I'm going to cross that out. Now I'm going to look for x to the 3rd power, and I do have an x to the 3rd power and only one x to the 3rd power, so I am just going to write that down right now. X to negative x to the 3rd, and that's gone. Now I'm going to look for the second powers, and then I have a positive 8x squared and a positive x squared. That is a positive 9x squared. I think canceling them out, like crossing them out, kind of helps you see what's left. This is negative 5x squared, and this is a positive 3x squared, and you have a negative 2x. I'm sorry, it's not squared, it's just x. So I have, sorry, I have a little bit of trouble right there. And that's x. This was a negative 5x, and this is a positive 3x. Like terms, negative 5 plus 3, negative 2x. And that is your final answer. So if you like hopefully you did understand what the homework yesterday was. It sometimes is a little bit more difficult when it's written out in words, and I just wanted to kind of go over like just one of them. Um, and so for number three from yesterday's homework, it says when 6x squared minus 4x plus 3 is subtracted from, and that's the key word right there, subtracted from the 3x squared minus 2x plus 3, the result is. So when you do set this up, just remember this right here, this trinomial, is being subtracted from this one. So that means when you set it up, the 3x squared minus 2x plus 3 has to be first in parentheses, and then minus, and you have to put it in parentheses. So if there is something like this tomorrow on the quiz, you just have to set them up like this. Remember, this is being subtracted from this, so it's kind of like you have to put it down in reverse. And then once you do set it up, you just bring everything down from the first. You have the 3x, no parentheses now, the 3x squared, the minus 2x, the plus 3, and then you distribute. That's why you distribute this minus sign, and it changes everything inside, just like the homework for today. You did like five, I think five subtraction problems. um, this becomes a positive 4x, and this becomes a negative 3, because negative times a positive is negative. Now you're ready to go ahead and combine all the like terms, and remember everything has to be in standard form. You have 3x squared minus 6x squared is negative 3x squared, and you could cancel those out right away. And you have a negative 2x plus 4x, that's plus 2x. And you can cancel those out also. And you have 3 minus 3, which is 0, so this is your final answer. Negative 3x squared plus 2x. Alright, and I just wanted to go over one of those with you. Alright, and that's the end of the video. See ya. Good luck tomorrow.